The story begins with the chief of Reikenzan's clan Lamoto telling Abu, one of the clan's elders, that he has seen the upcoming age of Mappo through his year sword. Abu notices that Lamoto is holding a T-sword instead of the year sword and yells at the old geezer to retire and let her lead the clan. Suddenly, some meteors fall on the ground and Abu senses a mysterious hand touching her face. Then we are introduced to our main protagonist Ouriku, who possesses a time-traveled soul that only appears once in 1,000 years and is born in the village of the O family, turning the disaster into a blessing. 12 years later, in a small town, an innkeeper girl named Rei tells everyone outside that the inn is full and if they want to stay in the VIP room, they must obtain a special access ticket. Then all of a sudden, Ouriku arrives, holding the ticket in his hand. He shows it to Rei and stays the night in the VIP room. Later that night, a man from Reikenzan sect tells Rei to sell 100 radishes for 500 ryo in a single day if she wants to stay in the town. The following day, Ouriku assists Rei with the help of Kyuno and his servant Utage to sell all of the radishes in exchange for food. After that, Rei gives him food and a gift. 3 days later, Ouriku participates in the celestial gathering with Kyuno and his servant Utage to join Reikenzan's clan under the supervision of 2 clan members. As the contest begins, they reach their first hurdle, the cursed fountain, where they have to collect water by throwing gold in it for the next test. While everyone is busy gathering the gold, a big man drops all the water from the foundation, and the bridge suddenly disappears. Some manage to escape while others fall from the bridge. Ouriku and his team enter the village by pouring water at the village gate. Some villagers welcome them and take them to a party. After the party, Ouriku talks with Kyuno about the village and says that the villagers will not talk about the contest. The following day, Ouriku orders his servant Utage to gather information about the village. While Utage is sitting on a house roof, Shushin, the crown prince of the Daemon country, suddenly arrives at the top and tries to make Utage against his master by saying they are both equal contestants and he should leave his master behind. Later that night, Ouriku tells Kyuno and Utage that through his investigation, he has found that they can only leave the village by helping its villagers. On the following day, they come to know their first mission is to solve the quarrel between a villager Aunt Ryu and the mayor's wife. With Ouriku's help, Kyuno solves the mission and leaves the village under the guidance of the mayor. Watching one contestant clearing the mission, the others began to find a way to move on from the village. However, Ouriku remains inactive amid this bustle. After 1 month, Ouriku finally comes back in action and manages to get the favor of 120 villagers by trading with the things they want in a single day. He notices that despite of 120 villagers, there is one more villager remaining by thinking about the bodyguard who always saves him from a fight. The bodyguard seems to be the innkeeper Rei from the Reikenzan town who had given a special key and coin there. The following day, Ouriku questions Rei about her mission. She says her mission is so simple and asks for a special coin, but Ouriku refuses to give the coin and trades with the special key. She tells him that her mission has been completed and takes him out of the village. He goes into a cave and collects his award. Meanwhile, the designer of the contest Abu and the supervisor Ryuken are watching all the contestants fighting a big monster. All of a sudden, Ouriku arrives at the battlefield with his cloud-stepping shoes and the legendary Mystic Frost sword. Abu and Ryuken become shocked to see Ouriku having legendary items and covering a large distance in a short time. Abu explains that the reward is decided automatically based on the points. She thinks Ouriku must have earned an absurd number of points and wonders how he can control high-caliber items even without training. He kills the monster with the sharp attack of his legendary sword and destroys all the barriers in the upcoming valleys with just one blow. Watching this, the chief, Lamoto, calls for all other elders to decide what to do with the remaining 15 contestants. During the meeting, they decide to examine all the contestants because they do not have much budget. They gather all the contestants in the mystical cloud hall and start judging their power and spirit. When Ouriku comes forward, all the elders become shocked to see his unprecedented potential and the legendary spirit base. Eventually, the test is over and the result is announced. The elders select Shushin, Bunho, and Utage among the 15 contestants. The announcer explains to Kyuno and Ouriku the reason for their failure. She tells Ouriku about the lucky charm proposal of one elder. He becomes happy and agrees to become her lucky charm at Reikenzan sect. Hearing this, Abu asks him what he can pay them if they take him as a lucky charm. He throws the Shaun coin at her as his tuition fees. Lamoto becomes surprised as he mistakes Aochu as the VIP guest at the inn and asks Ouriku to make one wish. He says he wants to be the legacy disciple and becomes Abu's student. Abu takes Ouriku to her house, where he asks about her stage of cultivation. She says she is at the Jindan stage and explains other elders' stages are way higher than hers. She takes Ouriku to the school, where he is treated as a celebrity for being a legacy disciple. 2 years passed and Ouriku trained by himself in those years and became stronger than before. One day, when Ouriku is walking, he meets Rei after 2 years. She offers to teach him some basic martial arts and how to gather Kai in his body. Ouriku becomes happy and accepts her as his new master. She takes him to a forest and teaches him some basic moves in just 1 day. When he goes back, he tells Abu about his progress in 1 day with his new master than in 2 years with her. She becomes mad and asks Ouriku to take his master here for a duel. Later that night, he goes to Rei and provokes her against Abu. She becomes furious and calls Abu out to fight while she is taking her afternoon nap. Abu gets ready to fight her, but Rei easily defeats Abu as she does not take her seriously. As Ouriku wins the bet, he asks Abu to teach her some real cultivation techniques. Abu becomes serious and explains that the medicinal bath that she has prepared for him for the past 2 years improves his physique, which enables him to learn her amorphic bones technique so he can gather Kai. Then she gets ready to teach him the amorphic bone technique. He takes a lesson in the cloud crossing halls during the day and trains the amorphic bone technique at night. He repeats the routine for 1 month and slowly but finally reaches the 3rd stage of amorphic bone. One day, he meets Rei again and asks her to teach him some techniques. She accepts his request and teaches him a new technique, entangling steps, which helps him to run and climb with ease. He learns it very fast because of his recent training. One night when he goes home, he becomes surprised to see Abu reading the essence of Jinden. She asks Ouriku to collect sanguine berries from the Azure Cloud Peak as he has reached the 8th stage of the amorphic bone, and he might be able to get a breakthrough with its help. He goes to the Azure Cloud Peak trial with his classmates Aochu, Bunhu, Shushin, and the trial leader Gaku. They plan to cross the full moon valley as they enter the trial, so Gaku asks them to run fast. Sometime later, he sees everyone's getting tired and notices Ouriku keeping with his speed. When they stop to take some rest, everyone talks about their grades in herbalism. Ouriku gathers some fruits for everyone and tells his grade is professional herbalism a plus. Suddenly, a level 1 monster named Lunar Fox, who likes to play with humans, appears before them. Ouriku tries to beat it until they reveal that information and make him stop. When they start their journey again, some level 2 monsters attack them and injure Gaku, but Ouriku beats one of the monsters and asks him to stop the others. Watching this, the trial leader Gaku claims that Ouriku is way stronger than him. When the trial leader gets injured, they plan to stop the trial and summon one of the elders. Ouriku summons his master Abu, and she sends everyone back to the Tetrad Peak and collects a lot of divine materials with Ouriku. After stealing the divine materials, Abu leaves a letter of apology and disappears from the sect. Ouriku knows she is just refining the materials, but before leaving, she gives him the amorphic bone strengthening pills and a detailed guide. On the other hand, Gaku and the others visit Ouriku and thank to him for saving them. Bunhu begs Ouriku to help him improve on his sword skills. Bunhu learns dark steel sword skill with the help of Ouriku, and he improves a lot in just 1 day. After that, Ouriku visits Rei to check his cultivation progress through inner observance and sees several branches. 1 month later, Ouriku and Bunhu have become strong together. Ouriku once again checks his cultivation progress and watches hundreds of rising pillars and sees 4 of the pillars flickering with a golden color. Rei says the pillars are his bones and the flickering represents his progress. He remembers that he will reach the end of the 8th stage when the 200 of the bones start flickering. Later that day, Ouriku takes Bunho and visits Rei at the inn. Ouriku asks Rei to join them at Azure Cloud Peak as it is the best way of training. Ouriku stays in the VIP room for 5 days, preparing his body for the end of the 8th stage. While he checks his cultivation progress once again, he sees all golden flickers trying to take control of his body, but Rei saves him and takes him back to his senses. Later, when Ouriku goes to the reception to enroll in the challenge mode into the Cloud Peak, the receptionist argues with him, saying he is too young to be the leader, but Ouriku wins the argument. He notices Rei does not write her full name and goes to the Cloud Peak. On the other hand, the chief with Okaku Abu and Ryuken welcome the 7th elder named Gakkenkai, who has returned after 3 years. When Ryuken returns Azure Cloud Peak to the Gakkenkai, he looks into the peak and finds Ouriku and others. On the other hand, Ouriku and others are wandering in the Azure Cloud Peak. Rei introduces her as the chief's daughter, and suddenly the urgent summoning charm appears. The chief summons Ouriku and introduces him to the Gakkenkai. Gakkenkai becomes very happy to see Abu's disciple and gives him some precious gifts. Later, when Gakkenaki eats the food with Ouruki, he checks Ouruki's cultivation process and gives him a special pill to reach the 5th stage of the sword bone. Abu returns from her tasks. The chief and Gakkenaki try to defend her, but an elder from another Sokei sect named Master Shiho has issues with Abu relating to his sect's reputation. Later, Ouriku meets Abu, and Abu talks about all of her journey and how Shiho has been deceiving his people through the blood-boiling technique. While arguing with the chief, Lamoto, Shiho shows him a paper against Abu, but Lamoto refuses to accept it, saying that he and all other elders believe Abu. Suddenly, Abu arrives at the Heavenly Sword Hall. She insults Shiho and challenges him to a duel. Shiho becomes surprised as Abu is one whole stage below her and gets ready for the duel. When the duel starts, Shiho turns the ground into the soil and attacks Abu with his special attack. Abu stops his attack with just one touch, but Shiho turns himself into the soil and destroys Abu's wooden sword. Abu recreates his wooden sword and defeats Shiho. He becomes ashamed of his deeds and leaves. On his way, he meets Kosho, a Jindan elder of the Sokei sect. Kosho attacks him and turns Shiho into a donkey. Later on, the chief Lamoto tells Ryuken that he plans to send their disciples for less than 10 years to the real world to clear the criminals in the Sokishu region. Ryuken becomes anxious as they have once sent their disciple before and did not get the results. Lamoto laughs at him and says it is just a test. Later, 2 spies from the Sokei sect try to capture Ouriku, but Ouriku beats them easily and goes to meet Kayonho sitting near a lake. The following day, Ouriku meets Abu, and he gives her tea. Abu says to Ouriku that after the amorphic bones, he has to learn amorphic swords. As Ouriku has completed amorphic bones, his body has already started to gather Kai in his body. Abu teaches him some sword skills and asks him to create his own fighting style. While he is thinking of his sword style in an inn, he asks the cook, who is a mastered sword fighter, to teach him sword fighting. She agrees with him and starts teaching the sword fighting the following day. During that day, the chief gathers all of the disciples and tasks them with an important mission. Ryuken explains they have to live in a world of commoners while performing various kinds of trials. After the meeting, Abu tells Ouriku the lifespan of different stages, but Ouriku is more excited to finally go home. Then she gives Ouriku a Kazan sword and tells him that her spirit has not been completely controlled by anyone and it is up to him if he wants to keep the spirit or not. He interacts with the spirit and becomes her new master. The story ends as Ouriku and all other disciples get ready and start their journey toward the real world. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.